Hey guys, good afternoon. So I'm back home in Northern California. A beautiful sunny day. It is not as warm as it might appear. It's in the 40s, thus the Moroccan scarf and jacket. So I'm walking up towards these hills here. There is a park up there, which I have recorded many videos in, but I thought for a change this time, pardon me, I have a rock stuck in the shoe, so I'm going up there, but I thought that this time I would give you a little taste of the neighborhood, the walk along the way there. Nice, pleasant, peaceful residential area here, and then a high school up ahead here. So, this video is about how I got my first book published, Kundalini and the Art of Being. Now, this is not going to be your typical how I got my book published story. So the title refers to both the book itself as well as the process of getting the book published. So this is going to be a travel story. It is not going to be about me just sitting in an office somewhere writing away. It will be about writing the book, the process of writing the book, where I wrote it. But it is going to be one of my most adventurous travel stories that you have heard, as you will see. And so in order to properly tell this story, I have to go back in time and start the story at a point at which you will be left wondering, well, what happened before that? How did I end up there? The problem is that no matter where I start the story, you will be left with that question, because it's just kind of a continuous series of various adventures of mine back in the 1990s. And so the seemingly perhaps random place where I'm going to start this story is at the 1997 Oregon National Rainbow Gathering. This was in the course of a summer of adventures of mine, vagabonding around with almost no money, in the true sense of being flat broke or almost. And so I'd gone to this rainbow gathering. I've been to, I think, 13 rainbow gatherings now in my life. And so I was at this rainbow gathering, but I actually have to backtrack just a little bit, is that before the rainbow gathering, I'd been at this community in northern Montana that I'd heard about, and I'd been living there for the past couple of months, and then I left there to go to this rainbow gathering. And so I spent about a week at the rainbow gathering. A rainbow gathering, if you aren't aware, is a basically hippie festival in the woods, a communal experience, a alternative living experiment. They happen all around the world. I don't know what the status is now with COVID happening. I assume that they have been canceled, or maybe a few have happened. But the last one that I went to was in 2014, and I made videos of that experience. And so I was at the rainbow gathering for about a week, and then finally I left and went hitchhiking across Oregon to, so here is the high school, and I'm headed up there. Normally I would walk through the parking lot, but it's a little busy, so I'll go this way over here. And so I was going to visit some friends in Eugene, Oregon, where I lived from 1993 to 1994. I believe that I had a tent. And so I hitchhiked from the Rainbow Gathering site to Eugene. Along the way, then I spent the night in my tent somewhere just on the side of the road, which was my way of doing it back then. I could not afford a hotel. I mean, I might have had, you know, $50 to my name or something like that. And so I spent the night in my tent somewhere on the side of the road, like out east of Eugene, and that is where I conceived of the idea of writing my book, Kundalini and the Art of Being. So that is the point of this particular location, starting the story there. I was lying in my tent and thinking about my past experiences, spiritual experiences, which is what the Kundalini refers to, of course, and my traveling experiences, and thinking, you know, this might actually make a kind of interesting book. And I was a writer anyways, not published yet at that point. This is about my very first book that I got published, but I'd been a writer in school. I was actually studying creative writing in Alaska. I went to Alaska to study creative writing, not the most common reason to go to Alaska. That isn't like why I went to Alaska, but I wanted to go to this university and I was interested in writing. So they had a creative writing program, and I was taking lots of creative writing classes and wrote all kinds of short stories there, which I compiled in my book, The Most Hilarious Thing That Ever Happened. That is a compilation of my short stories that I wrote when I was in college in Alaska, in Fairbanks and Juneau. And that book is published as well. However, it is self-published, whereas Kundalini and the Art of Being is published through a publisher. Now, I'm going to jump in here and answer the question directly, how did I get my first book published? Just the simple, short answer, which is I mailed the manuscript to publishers. That is how you get a book published, basically, is you mail the book or portions of the book, the first few chapters, whatever, you mail it to publishers, and then you wait to get a response, and almost certainly it will be a no. But I will get to that later. But that is kind of, you know, just the basic answer of how I actually managed to get that book published. So I'm in my tent there. I have this idea. I want to write this book. Try to encapsulate my experiences, both the outer traveling adventures, so the high school here and a skate park over here. Now, I don't remember exactly when I wrote like the first word. I remember writing a few chapters at some point, which I think then expanded into the full book. But a quick encapsulation of my experiences after that point of getting the idea for the book. I went and visited my friends in Eugene, and then I went back to the community in Montana where I was living, and that's a whole story that I won't get lost in, but I spent another, I don't know, month or something there. Oh, it is kind of happening here. It is a Saturday. Looks like maybe a birthday party or something. So this is getting into the park area. I will continue walking up this way, get off the main path here. Now up ahead, straight up there, is a disc golf course, and that is where I learned to play disc golf back in, I think it was in 1995, when I was living here with my mom and stepdad, who I'm visiting now. There are 4 different disc golf courses in this area here, so a great selection. One of the things that I do while I'm visiting here. All right, so I was at the community in northern Montana, Eureka, Montana, And from there, then I left and continued my summer of vagabonding and ended up in New Mexico, where I lived at another community that was founded by Chris Griscom, a spiritual author. I guess I'd read one of her books and knew that she was in that area, and she was offering a work exchange program. And so I went there and lived for a month or so and helped work on like this hay bale construction house, and met with the people there and had an interesting time. And then I left there. I remember I had a wedding to attend, my cousin's wedding in Santa Cruz, California. And so I headed out for that with my backpack. And, I had no specific plans. I had basically no money. Once again, I don't know how I made even any money. I had some money saved from having worked earlier in the year for my dad for a couple of weeks, and was just like, making that last. But I wasn't making money at the place in Montana or in New Mexico, somewhere kind of near Taos, I think. And so I end up in Santa Cruz and then go to this wedding, and then I decide, okay, I think I'm going to Arcata, California. That is where I ultimately graduated from university in 2002 with a degree in world religions. It would have been creative writing, but they didn't have a creative writing program there. And so I chose world religions just out of interest and because I knew it would be lots of essay writing, and I had been to India previously. So you can see some of the disc golf baskets up there. Let's wander up this hill here. That is the 17th basket that they're shooting from there. So it's an 18 basket course. Great course here in the trees. And this is a fun one. You shoot from up there. So you have this big hill to shoot down. Pretty cool. And so I like the town of Arcata. I'd lived there for like 2 months the previous year. That's a whole other story once again that I will plan to tell in upcoming videos. I really want to tell more of these old travel stories. And so I decided to head up to Arcata, and I was going to camp in the woods there, outside campus. Speaking of disc golf, then there is a awesome disc golf course. Looks snow on the mountains out there. There's a really cool disc golf course in Arcata on the campus in the redwoods that are next to campus, like deep in the redwoods. And I was very familiar with that area and thought, okay, well, having nowhere to go right now, it was going into fall. This was like October or so. And so I decided, okay, I think I'm going to head up to Arcata in Northern California. That's like 2.5 or so hours north of here, and go live in the woods there. That was my plan with my, $50 or whatever. And so I do that. I set up my tent there, and it starts to rain, and it rains and rains. It just like rains every day for the next month that I'm camped in the woods, just kind of stealth camping, hoping nobody notices, nobody bothers my tent or anything, which luckily that didn't happen. Now, what I ended up doing with a lot of my time there was not so much writing. I can't exactly remember if I was actually actively writing yet the book at that point, but I was reading a lot. I would go to the library, the Humboldt State University library, and spend the day there out of my tent and out of the rain, reading various books, including Lord of the Rings, which I had never read the full trilogy at that point. I'd read The Hobbit, but hadn't read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So that was kind of my mission at the time. Now, it was going into winter. It was raining and raining and raining. I had almost no money. So I was checking the classified ads. You know, this is basically before the internet. I mean, the internet existed at that point, but I didn't use it. I think I had used it a couple times. But anyways, I was checking the local classified ads in the newspaper for various job opportunities. There wasn't much, but I found this pretty cool opportunity, which was a old folks home in Eureka, the town next to Arcata, and they were looking for a work exchange person who would basically be there, just kind of a person there for when the main staff wasn't there, because it was a very small arrangement with only like 3 or 4 or 5 residents, something like that. It was basically just in a house. And so you would get free room and board for living there, and you didn't hardly have to do anything. And so I got this little job, moved in there, and that is where I started writing the book, Kundalini and the Art of Being. Because I had lots of free time, and I apparently had a computer. I don't really remember what that computer was. It must have been an old Macintosh. I mean, it wasn't a laptop. You know, not something that I was traveling with, but it was probably sitting at my mom's house down here, and then I had it mailed up there or something like that. So anyways, one way or another, then I had a computer and I started writing that book. And so the book is a combination of inner and outer adventures. I'd started practicing yoga in the winter of 1993 when I moved to Eugene, Oregon, which I previously mentioned. I moved there because I had a friend from Denali National Park, Alaska that I met, Matthew, who is mentioned in that book. And I had visited him the previous fall while I was living with my dad in Petaluma, California, after coming back from living in Alaska for 2 years. And I had liked the town, and so I'd moved there. And while I was there, then I just had a lot of interesting experiences, started practicing yoga regularly and meditating and stuff. And later that fall, and so this gets into a whole other long story, which is told in my book, then I had this weird experience called a Kundalini experience, which I'm not going to get into describing, but it is a spiritual phenomenon very well documented in various books. Basically kind of involves like a rush of spiritual energy and just kind of shifts your perspective and stuff like that. And it was very challenging, to say the least. I describe it in a lot of detail in that book. And so after this happened, which was in Austin, Texas, while visiting a girlfriend out there, then I moved back to my mom's house here, being homeless and dealing with this weird experience and whatnot. And I went to the community college here for the spring of 1995, and so that is when I mentioned learning to play disc golf. My stepdad was the one who introduced it to me. And so the book melds together these inner experiences and you know, ponderings and realizations and just you know, trying to figure out the meaning of life and all that kind of stuff, along with adventure travels of mine through that period of time from 1993 to 1996. And so Kundalini and the Art of Being is a book that goes in the middle of my other book, Following My Thumb, A Decade of Unabashed Wanderlust. So that book is just pure travel stories. It documents from my trip to Europe in 1990 up to my trip to India in 1999 and 2000, but it basically skips over that 3-year period from 93 to 96, and I just kind of allude to it as, you know, I was going through some interesting stuff and traveling around, but I don't tell any of the travel stories except one, my strange encounter with a cult in Sedona, Arizona. That story kind of anchors the two books together, because that is the only same story that is told in both books. And so Following My Thumb, A Decade of Unabashed Wanderlust is essentially a prequel and a sequel simultaneously to Kundalini and the Art of Being. And so that is, in a nutshell, what the book is about. My hitchhiking adventures and meeting with, my yoga instructor in Eugene, and this interesting character, Jeffrey, who I saw at my last Rainbow Gathering in 2014. That was the last time that I saw him, but, that was 20 years after the events as described in the book, and I've seen him various times since then. And so there I am in Eureka, California, not to be confused with Eureka, Montana, where that community was. And I'm there living at this old folks home and start writing the book. And I ended up spending only a couple months there, maybe. And then it was just, that part of the country, that part of California it's wet, it's gray. It is not like this area where you get a fair amount of sunny days. And so it was just kind of depressing, and I was ready to move on after 2 months of just sitting around there. And so I went back to Hawaii. Now, the way that I even bought a ticket to Hawaii when I had basically no money is I returned a jacket. I had this nice jacket that I'd bought in Alaska when I worked there the last time in 1995. So this was like, a year and a half later, but somehow I managed to return this jacket for like full value. It was like North Face or something like that. And so I got this full refund, and it was just enough to buy a flight to Kauai, Hawaii. And so that would have been 1998. And I arrived there with $30 to my name. So this is a whole story that I will save for another video. But I ended up living there for 6 months, from like February until August or something, 1998. And then the next year I made plans to go to India. And then I came back from there, and as I mentioned, went to Humboldt State University up in Arcata. And that is where I started submitting the book. Actually, I'm pretty sure that I was submitting it long before that. I'd submitted it many, many times. But I arrived there in Humboldt State University in Arcata in the fall, or actually in August of 2000, and started going back to school there because I had done the 2 years of university in Fairbanks and a semester in Santa Rosa when I was living in Petaluma with my dad, and then the semester at Mendocino College here. And I didn't have my degree yet, and so I went back to school there in Arcata because I liked the town, like the university, like the people and stuff. And it was there that I started more earnestly submitting the manuscript, as well as, working on it more, finishing it, and sending it off to publishers. And so it was in 2000 that I arrived there at Humboldt State. And then a year later, lo and behold, I got a positive response. I got a phone call from Station Hill Press, a publisher in New York State, and they wanted to publish the book. Now, the cool thing is that when I got the call, standing there right next to me was my friend Abram. And his wife, at the time, he was married, has 3 children. And so they were visiting from Southern California and just happened to be there in my little house that I had. I had this like tiny little house in Arcata. And they were there when I got this call. And they were offering to publish the book, have me sign a contract and everything. It was like fully, for real. And so, of course, I accepted and signed their contract. Now, they told me that the book would be published the next spring of 2002. That did not happen. It didn't happen in 2002. It didn't happen in 2003. I would contact them every couple months or so and just try to get an update, how's the book going? Is it actually happening? Is it really for real going to get published or not? And they would always say, yes, it's in progress. It's definitely going to happen. It is on the front burner. And so I was basically led along for years and years, all the while wondering, should I pull out? It's been 2 years. It's been 3 years. It's been 4 years. Should I take it back from them and try to get it published with somebody else? But, that's starting the whole process over again. You're then talking about months, probably years, to get responses, which are almost certainly going to be negative. And so I just kind of kept sticking it out with them. Now, one good advantage to all this delay is that it gave me the chance to re-edit the book, because they hadn't gotten to the point of doing their official edit yet in the course of all this delay. And so I would work on it again, go back over the entire book, read through, and edit it more. And so I think that ultimately improved the book. But finally, it was published in 2008. It took them 7 years. And here is the sort of final little insult, which is that, as I mentioned, I would call them every once in a while and check in, is it really still happening? And so I called them in summer of 2008. I was working up in Jasper National Park. I give them a call or send them an email, one or the other, and they reply back and they're like, yeah, we published it a month ago. And they never informed me. Unbelievable, so incredibly flaky. But at least it finally happened. That was a huge accomplishment and thrilling experience. Now, as for how successful the book has been, not very much. I'm not sure how many copies it has sold, but I think in the realm of, 500 or something like that. I have not made a single penny. My contract was 10% of the profits, which I sort of understood to be 10% of revenue, of sales, but they said because the book never actually made a profit, that's when I would get 10% of the profit off of it. But whatever, I haven't made much money from any of my books. The books that have made the most money for me has been my self-published ones, because I have 3 with publishers and 4 self-published. One of my books with publishers does make a little money but I'm talking like every 6 months I get $100 to $200, and then I get a dribble of revenue every month from my Amazon sales from the self-published books there. So there you go. That is the full long story and a little sort of glimpse into tidbits of my life during that phase. So if you want to learn more, then check my book, Kundalini and the Art of Being. And also, I highly recommend, if you're more interested in the travel content, following my thumb, A Decade of Unabashed Wanderlust, and also The Most Hilarious Thing That Ever Happened, a collection of short stories, which is actually my personal favorite of all of my writing, is that collection of short stories. Very quirky, weird, kind of, some of them Kafkaesque, with various sort of symbolism and references to literature, like old, like Kafka and Plato's allegory of the cave, and kind of random stuff that I was interested in at the time, which probably isn't very evident to most readers. But anyways, I will put the link down below to all of my books on Amazon.com, and stay tuned for probably some more random videos. I actually have lots of things to talk about while I'm here, however long I'm here for. I don't know, a week or 2 or 3, we'll see. Waiting for inspiration and the travel bug to strike. Okay, I'm going to give it a little hint here. One place that I really want to see, and the hint is James Bond. Let's see if anyone can guess that. Now I'm referring to the latest James Bond movie, which I just watched a couple of days ago, and saw the footage of this place and was like, wow, I've heard about this place. It looks even more amazing than I thought it would be. And so that is one place I want to go sometime, probably this year. All right, take it easy. Happy trails.